Hello, Liverpool. Always wanted to say that. You all having a good day so far? What about them two, eh? The band. Well, this is a bit different to being in the studio, so I don't want to have my back to. Feel free to shuffle your chairs if you need to. First of all, thanks for coming back after lunch. We'll take that as a win. So big round of applause to you all. As a celiac, I was a bit selfish, so all the snacks were gluten-free. All those dietary requirements, folks. I think the biggest win of the day is for the chefs. You gave them a good workout today, so well done. So considering I shoehorned this into the agenda, I don't know why I chose the afternoon slot, to be honest. So I'll try and bring the energy up as best as I can. But I was standing over there thinking, I might have bitten off more than I can chew here. So I said, a bit of a mantra to myself. I said, Jack, if 10% of the audience like it, that's a win. So if you all lower your expectations, that'll be good enough. If you're familiar with the podcast, I'm not going to go too off course. It's not going to be too crazy. And if you're not familiar with the podcast, there's about 45 minutes to go. So just stick with it, all right? So for those who put your name in the hat, thank you very much. Now, I was going to pre-choose them, and then I got convinced not to do so. So I'm going to do this live. As Matt said this morning, if you have got a right to pass, please come up. Because the whole show sort of depends on it, okay? So if I call out your name, please do come up. I'm going to call them out one at a time. Again, this could go really well or really wrong. Julia Thomas, come on down. Welcome to the podcast, take a seat. We'll come back to you in a second, don't worry about that. If you have the mic just a fist away, that would be ideal. Who else have we got? I'm going to murder this name, so I'm going to apologise in advance. Umang Rajev? Take a seat, mate. Do one of you two want to choose the last one? Nicola Burns, well done. So that should be on. Just give it a quick test.
Hello.
Yes. So we already know your name, but as Cilla Black, this is my dedication to Cilla, Liverpool legend. What's your name? Where'd you come from?
Julia Thomas, and I live just outside Retford in the East Midlands.
And what is your role, if you were to describe your role?
So I am a delivery-focused coach, agile coach, business agility coach, whatever you want to call me on the day.
Lovely. So I want to know, and the folks would like to know, what does Agile mean to you?
So for me, Agile is about making those 1% improvements day on day, about putting your people at the heart of everything that you do. Without your people on that journey, you will not succeed. So for me, it's all around ensuring that any organisation that I work with talks about the people and doesn't talk about resources or talks about a process.
That's good, isn't it?
Is it?
I like that.
It's true.
So you went for some quick fire questions on the spot, this or that type style.
Is it just me? Or we're
going to go one at a time, don't worry.
Want to make sure.
That's great, thank you.
Yeah, trust the process.
That's fine.
So I've got 3 quick fire questions for you.
Okay.
Scrum or Kanban?
Scrum.
Story points or days?
Story points.
Oof, controversial. At regular... Put my teeth back in. At regular intervals, the team reflects on how to become more effective, then tunes and adjusts its behaviour accordingly, or...
Hang on, can you say that again?
in a second. Or simplicity, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done. So 2 of the Agile principles there. Which one do you prefer? Basically, retros or simplicity?
So for me, the former.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So which one?
So the retros.
Retros.
Course, yes.
Have you got a favourite retro?
I did an Elvis retro last week, actually.
Tell us about that.
So I'm working with an insurance company in the city, and they are very, very new, and they all wear suits and ties still. So I wanted to inject some humour. Kind of worked for about 10 minutes. I'm just trying to get them to loosen up and just to talk to each other. So, yeah, it was okay. They were very honest, but then they come out and don't want to do very much afterwards. So they kind of spill all their shit and then they go away and do nothing about it.
That's one of the big things about retros, isn't it? They're pretty pointless if you don't take the actions afterwards. So.
Exactly. So I'm constantly on Teams going, have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done this?
Is it done yet? Okay. Thank you very much. Big round of applause. If you could pass the microphone on. Once again, what's your name? Where have you travelled from?
My name is Umang. I've come over from Leicester.
Oof, Leicester. Yeah.
All right.
Once again, if you were to describe your role at the moment or what you do, how would you do it?
So I'm an engineering capability lead at Rolls-Royce SMR. So think more physical hardware building stuff engineering. I look after our engineering software estate. So what tools engineers need to do the job that they do. Yeah.
Okay. Your question, my friend, is how can we get the best out of Agile when sometimes it can feel like it's against the ropes?
When it's against the?
When Agile sometimes has a bit of a bad reputation, how do we get the best out of it without shoving it down people's throats?
I think we've been talking a few conversations around this through the day as well. It's just getting to the basics of what agility is. It's about bringing people together, learning, communicating, making the invisible visible in all of the work that we do. And if people have a problem with the word agile, just, it's ways of working better and getting delivery and outcomes done so that, businesses are growing, people are happier, and focusing on those rather than, well, this is the framework that we're going to stick by.
Yeah. I think a few people have said to me that Ewan's, I think he's gone home now, but Ewan's talk was basically a lot of talking about Agile without saying it out loud. And I think that is sometimes the best approach.
Yeah, I'll give Matt a shout out because that's my introduction to Agile here, and he's not going to have it. But one of the things we talked about was we had a learning at work week, and we talked about the 10 things the 10 things you're already doing that are Agile, but you didn't know were Agile. So most people are doing these things, but just not putting the label on it.
Were there any common themes? Were there any?
A lot of them around just learning, reflecting, adapting, measuring. And bringing people together.
Okay, perfect. If you could, actually, big round of applause. Da-da, 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 da. Finally, contestant person number 3. What's your name and where have you travelled from?
All right, Scylla. I'm Nicola. I've come from Scotland.
Whereabouts?
Not this morning, luckily.
Yeah.
But so I live in Edinburgh.
Okay.
And I am an enterprise agile coach for a consultancy company called Capgemini. I'm also a trainer, and I'm also on a podcast myself. I'm a podcast host. Agile Beats, also available on Spotify.
Like and subscribe. So do you know Matt Spruce?
I do, yes. I used to work with him, so yes.
You got any stories about him? You can,
Not that I could possibly say out loud.
No, okay.
No,
Well, tell us later.
He was like he's instrumental in sort of, really pushing my journey forward, actually. So shout out to Matt. Thank you.
Shout out to Matt. Look at that. This wasn't fixed. Right. So, your question. What things could people be focusing on outside of the Agile bubble that could help both their teams and organizations, in your opinion / experience?
I think the idea of a learning culture Always thinking about what you can learn from everywhere that you do anything. That was one of the things that brought me into podcasting. I used to do just a podcast for fun. And I mean, I'm not saying that Agile isn't fun. Oops. But it was something that I brought then into my place of work. So I was able to sort of incorporate things that I enjoy doing into what I do every day. And we talk a lot about in Agile trying to introduce a more sort of people-centric type of thing. And that means taking everybody as they are and bringing all the things that they're interested in to what they do in their job. So, people don't have to just be defined by, I'm developing an insurance app, or, I'm working for, I don't know, I spoke to somebody today, so working for the NHS or something. You don't have to be defined by that, and that isn't the only source of where you get your information from or you're learning from. You can learn from everywhere. So I think that's a really important thing for me.
Yeah. I've just realised I've messed up. I didn't do your quickfire questions, did I? I was so engrossed. So if you could pass the microphone back, that was a brilliant answer though. Thank you. And we'll come back to you. But I just need to, for completedness, your quickfire questions. Individuals and interactions or customer collaboration?
Customer collaboration.
Oh, I forgot I wrote this one. Delivery manager or scrum master?
See, I'm gonna have a maybe controversial answer. Is I'm kind of indifferent to all of the roles and titles in and around agility.
Okay.
And so it's whatever needs to get the job done. That's
Fair enough. That's the right answer. You've got the people's vote, mate. I'll give you that. Jira, DevOps, or something else?
Something else. Just a wall with post-it notes.
Even in a digital environment?
A mural with sticky notes.
Okay. Fair enough. Thank you very much. Big round of applause once again. If you could pass back that way. So let's come back to you. In terms of outside the Agile bubble then, is there anything else? Is there anything you've learned, from the people you've interviewed? Do you draw inspiration from other industries, books?
I think that there's something to be learned from every different place. Like we mentioned Matt before, he obviously comes from the armed services, and it's like the armed forces, and learning sort of bits and pieces. We've probably all read the David Marquette book. We've already, so that sort of being interested and aware of how these type of learnings can come from just about everywhere. You can learn from sport, you can learn from other people's jobs. I've a lot of friends who are teachers, and I'm sure everybody has experienced the sort of that when you talk, when you talk to people who look after primary schools, it's sort of I have that same problem too, trying to get people to pay attention and all that sort of stuff. So I think that just always being open to learning and always being open to being aware of where you can learn things is important. Yeah.
Love that. Thank you very much. Are you ready for your quickfire questions?
Okay.
Here we go. Safe, less, or Scrum at scale?
Less.
How come?
Open source.
Fair enough. Projects or products?
Products.
Product manager or product owner?
Product owner, I would say.
That was a tough choice.
Yeah, so I guess that, again, as exactly as you said, it's whatever gets the job done, as long as the person is actually genuinely focused on products.
Finally, Miro or mural?
Ooh, I'm a mural person, actually. I've just learned how to use it, basically. It's awful, but I don't know. I just don't know Miro. But anything's better than whiteboard, right?
Fair enough.
I prefer Click Soon, actually.
Okay.
But
So I'm not going to get people to give you. I'm going to get people to give you a round of applause, but you are going to pass the microphone back.
Yes.
So I promise it's not going to be an endless cycle of applause. But big round of applause if you pass the microphone back. I want to know what's the day in the life of your role. I'm sure other people would be interested in that as well.
So I can talk about what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, please do, without getting us into trouble and having to making the edit too hard. Don't throw anyone under the bus.
So 5:15 start on a trip down to London, into the city, working with the Lloyd's of London insurance company, who know they need to work differently. I was engaged on a 39-day working day gig, 3 days a week, to change the way they work. So I was sold a dream. Isn't that always the case? So basically, they want to move their teams to working more collaboratively. They're working very much in silos. And we have a leadership team that half know they need to do something differently. They don't know what that differently is. They know they need to work differently. But as in lots of our roles, it's not about what we do, it's about how we do it. So it's different ways of thinking, it's changing behaviours, it's getting people to delegate and empower. So I have a whole backlog of work, but at the moment I'm working a little bit top down, a little bit bottom up. We're trying to create a buzz in the middle, and people are going, "Oh, what are you doing over there? I want to be a part of this."
I like that term. Buzz in the middle, like that. I'm going to rob that, basically.
So because then people are going, "Oh, that's really interesting, and I want to work in this way." And so we're introducing all of the ceremonies. At the moment, they're going through the motions, but that's kind of okay because they weren't doing them before.
Yeah.
So at least they're coming together, they're talking. We are talking about those 1% changes. So if somebody would say, what's Julia's mantra? It's leaving you in a better position where I found you. And it's making those 1% changes every day so that at the end of the year, we've made loads of changes, but it hasn't felt really overwhelming. So I'm just trying to break down what they want to do in small, manageable chunks so that they go away as human beings at the end of the day and feel proud of what they've achieved, but also feel part of something. I think people need to feel part of a bigger jigsaw puzzle. And when people understand where they fit into that whole piece, they know the impact that they make overall. So if you're looking at, we're rewriting their OKRs at the moment, like how does what I do today impact and positively affect the OKRs? And I need to understand that. So it's about showing people the journey and helping them on that journey. And it's really tough. It's a really tough gig. Last week I had major imposter syndrome because I'm really worried I can't make the impact that I would like to make on 39 days. But to be fair, some of that is my learning that I should never have signed up to 39 days. But they're all really great people and all want to make the difference. And that's a big part for me. The people are great and they've really embraced me and what I'm trying to do. But I think, as Tom said earlier, the way you take people on that journey is about building trust, and building trust takes time.
Yeah. Shout out to Tom Killen there. Thank you. You can pass the microphone on. So Rolls-Royce, hardware, Agile.
You using the for a nuclear company is not
Well, yeah. It's a masher. You said you.
Yeah.
You said you've been working with Matt Turner. Shout out Matt Turner, legend in the game. What's been the learning like taking the concept of agility and agile, however you want to sort of visualization, Kanban, whatever. What have been the main learnings in a hardware scenario? Because I know there's a few people in here in that space as well, and I'm sure they would love to take some ideas away.
Yeah, great. It's been really good. I think one of the first things we did with Matt was just helping everyone understand what is the flow of work. So a lot of everything I'll talk about today does revolve around visualizations, the practices of an obeyas. So just being able to see all of the work that's happening at a given time by all of the people in that value stream. Where is it? What state is it in? Is it stuck? Is it not stuck? How is it stuck? And then getting people together in a Gemba regularly so that they can understand, reflect, communicate in and around that piece of work. So one of the first things we did was just trying to bring all of the stakeholders working on a single project together and help them visualize all of the work that they were all doing. And it's really interesting the things that happen when you start to do that in very simplistic. And there's kind of the reason I said not DevOps or not ADO or Jira, because one of the first times we did this, we had the entire community. So we had the developers, the IT teams, the project managers, and the engineers who are asking for these products, who are the testers and requirement gatherers, come together. And at the end of it, one of the biggest feedback was we're not able to communicate across those boundaries. The customer, so for us, the hardware engineering teams, don't really understand what's going on in the IT world. The IT team doesn't really understand what's going on in the engineering world. We're like, okay, great. Actually, both of you do have systems of records where you can understand and see what work is going on. What if we just gave you access to the right tools? So, the tickets are moving in DevOps. What if we gave you access to DevOps? And the instantaneous response to that was, no, we don't want to go there. Because it's quite, it's your system of record. Those notes make sense to you, but I really don't want to go in there because it's quite messy. I cannot, in a snapshot, understand what is going on and where I can come in and help. And that's across all levels, right? Whether it's a junior design engineer through to perhaps an engineering director. People want the ability in any industry, whether it's hardware or software, to be able to see where is the work, where is it stuck, where can I help? And so that's one of the first and most important things that we ever did, was just take things from all the various different systems of record people have. People claim to have these sources of truth. So IT will say this is our source of truth. Engineering will say this is our source of truth. The PMs will say, and even within IT, you'll have, the enterprise architects have their source of truth. The BAs have their source of truth. And what we did was just started amalgamating all of that into actually what we called just a source of all of the different truths, rather than saying this is now our source of truth. These are all the sources of truths or untruths, and help people actually throw rocks at it and say, actually, what are the untruths we can discover in here, so we can constructively understand nuances of where are we miscommunicating? Is the work actually where it is? Is there anything we can do to eliminate stuff that's getting stuck? And just having that visible just led to lots and lots of interesting, useful conversation and engagement.
Yeah, love that. Thank you.
Great.
Pass it on. Yeah, round of applause. So in a world where arguably supply outweighs demand for agile coaches, enterprise agile coaches, whatever, Kanban wizards, whatever you want to call yourselves, how have you evidenced your work to sort of, I'm a big fan of telling the people who work with us and just in general to keep your receipts. I don't think that's a negative thing, but how do you do that to make sure you're proving, not your worth as a person, because that's separate, but as an enterprise agile coach, what can people sort of take away and go, actually, here's a receipt that proves what I'm doing is helpful?
Yeah, I think that is one of the most difficult parts of Scrum Mastery and also Agile coaching, is the fact that a really truly successful Scrum Master disappears.
Just put your mic a bit closer.
Disappears, as does, it's the same with an Agile coach. And so it is really difficult to prove the impact that you've had, because as a good servant leader, you take a step back, you allow the team to take the glory, because it is their glory to take. I think that I've always found that the teams that I work with are the people that are willing to speak up for how I've done as an Agile coach. And quite often that we were talking before about, with one of the people here, is do you try and sell yourself to senior leadership, or do you try and sort of support your teams and then they can sell you to your senior leadership? And I've found that that's the most successful way of actually, it being a true standard of how good you are, because you can spend a lot of time with senior leadership telling them exactly what you're doing, but you end up in a situation where you're sort of writing your timesheets, it's between 5 and 6 I did this, blah blah blah. But actually, if your team are sort of saying, oh, you can't take Nicola away because we'll be sad, or she was an instrumental part of this as well, then that's really helpful. The problem is that to start with, your teams don't really get that. Yeah. So you have to sort of get through that initial period. But equally, if you have strong leadership, if you have good leadership, they begin to see exactly how things work, and begin to see that you are an instrumental sort of cog in the machine, and that without you there, it's very difficult to succeed at the same pace. Although there is a certain element of redundancy, I think, in the job that we do. Like eventually, you want to try and make your teams, sustainable, so that they can continue at this pace without necessarily you being there all the time. So I think that there's an up and down on that. But just when you said about the fact that there's a supply and a demand, I do think that there is a certain element of us that we have to be a bit flexible. Like, we talked before, that maybe you don't go for the job that's the agile coach, you go for the delivery coach, manager, wizard, and you make it into an agile coaching role so that you can get all the good stuff, which is, the collaboration, the transparency, everything that these guys have talked about. But you sort of inveigle yourself in and sort of make it happen.
Yeah, I agree. I think I got my soapbox now. Stand by. When I see people in our community proper going in on job descriptions because they're not the perfect one, I'm like, well, yeah, that's the point. Because it's not perfect. There's probably someone writing it who doesn't understand it. And then people from our community go in hard publicly, and I go, who do you think that looks good on, mate? Because you're making yourself open to sort of criticism because you're criticizing a role. So those perfect roles probably don't exist. So I think you're spot on there.
Yeah, I'm really sorry to have to admit this in a public forum, but I started off in recruitment.
We've got a few recruiters in the house, don't worry.
but actually, for me, that it really made me realise that it's never about the skills. It's always about the person.
Yeah.
And that's what ultimately led me into Agile. So because it's all about, and if you can persuade people that your skills are skills that they can't get from other people because they are really important. The skills that make us Agile coaches or good Scrum Masters are the skills that make us good delivery managers or project leads or whatever the company wants to call us, because actually what you're trying to do is to deliver good outcomes, deliver teams that work well together and collaborate and deliver transparency. So
get some good stuff done. You happy to take questions, you folks? Have we got any questions for the guests? We don't usually have this opportunity. Matt? Have we got a runner? It's all right. You bellow, mate. We'll probably be able to hear you.
It's a question for Julia. So you said, I think you said earlier on that you're working with an insurance company. And I thought you said they were quite new. But then you mentioned Lloyd's of London, which is probably the oldest insurance company. What are the big challenges about getting an institution as old as them thinking differently?
That's a really good question. It's around talking to them about the benefits of making the changes. I think theorising with people at that level who have always been used to doing something in a certain way doesn't work. So it's around teaching them. And a lot of the coaching role is a little bit of mentoring, it's a bit of coaching, it's a bit of doing the do. But it's explaining, if you do things in a different way or in this way, these are the outcomes you can achieve. And to really make it land on the ground. So take something they're trying to do now and show them how doing something or thinking in a different way will drive a different outcome. And I find that's the only way to do it. Also, especially working in a very male-dominated environment, there are still some out there, and it doesn't bother me anymore, because I've worked in financial services for about 30 years, but I do think that to get your opinion heard and for people to listen when you talk, you have to talk in real outcomes. So take something tangible and walk them through what it could look like if they do it slightly differently and how they can achieve more. I think the other thing, though, they go, oh, yeah, we just need to speed up. And so to get you there, you're going to have to slow down before you can speed up. And that's one of the biggest challenges. But making it land tangibly on the ground is what they want to hear.
Look at that. What an answer. What a guest. What a panel of guests. Any other questions for any of the... Got a hand up over there. Is that James?
Again. Umang, a question for you with working at Rolls-Royce on the SMR programme. A bit of an interest in mine is agile delivery in construction and engineering rather than just software. How would you compare the two, and what would you say that you could share specifically from that with us?
So you're asking about how like what the differences might be, or?
Yeah, we see a lot around SpaceX and talking about agile development of space rockets. How do you find it in agile delivery in a manufacturing environment, particularly with Rolls-Royce, who aren't necessarily always known as being the most agile organisation?
I don't think it's that different, right? Like and perhaps also sort of coming back to, I used to work for a company that did AI software for engineering before this. I used to work for Jaguar Land Rover before that, and then now working for Rolls-Royce. So I've seen a little bit of software for engineering, and then I'm now looking at we're still looking at software for engineering, but in the hardware space. And we've had a few talks from people like Scottish Waters who are deploying a lot of these tools and techniques in construction. The mechanisms are still the same. The challenges are still the same. We're talking about silos. We're talking about these hard and fast sources of truth that are not sources of truth. We're talking about hidden work. We're talking about not learning, not adapting. They're all the same challenges. And whether that's a 40,000 people organization, 40 people organization, or 400 people organization, I've not particularly seen things that weren't translatable. We do get that as a big challenge sometimes, that like, oh, this doesn't really apply here. But the reality of it is it does. And very soon, very quickly, it is about finding people who are early innovators, adopters that want to join the journey, and having them create safe spaces where you can demonstrate that there is value to be had. And then all of a sudden you start seeing a bit of a pull coming in from other areas of the business that perhaps aren't used to a different style of working. But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for us has been just demonstrating visually everything that we're doing, demonstrate and making that visible to everyone. So as much as we use, I was talking about online tools like Miro and Mural, one of the things we still do is every week we print that off and stick it at the back of the decision makers with a giant plotter. I seem to be the only one that uses the plotter, or one of the heaviest users at least. And that sparks conversation, because all of a sudden when people are talking about having a new piece of work rock up, it's not an isolated piece of work. It's in the context of everything else that's behind me. How is this going to slot in, or where is it going to slot in, or who's going to work on it? So all of a sudden people are making more informed decisions with data sets they had, but they were just in everybody's head up until now. And so just making them visible, making that frictionless for as many people as possible is sort of what we've been doing. The same thing back to the reason the wall or the mirror or the mural is just open access to information to make decisions. One of the things that we find with Jira and DevOps, and obviously those are fixable problems, but is levels of access. It's like, well, I'm not a so-and-so architect, so I can't see so-and-so thing. Actually, on the whiteboard, you can go in and see and touch and feel everything you want to see. But back to the differences that I've noticed between hardware and software, I haven't come across stuff that wasn't that relatable. Maybe there are, maybe there aren't, but I found most things were relatable, because fundamentally the thing we've been focusing on was the work and not the frameworks and the mechanisms and the titles. It was the work needs to flow from A to B. This is where it goes. These are the people working on it, and this is how it gets stuck. How can we all come together to make it unstuck? And that seemed, that work is the same, no matter what industry, no matter how big or small the organization is.
Brilliant. Thank you. Any others?
Hi, just open question to all of the panel, including you, Jack.
Oh, God. That's not on the agenda, mate.
And just what is the biggest piece of agile bullshit that you've observed?
Jack should go first.
For me, it's rigid adherence to frameworks. I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm not a huge fan of SAFe because it's just so rigid and it's so heavy-handed. And I apologise to anybody who's really into it, but yeah, I just find frameworks quite often a load of bullshit. Yeah.
I can give two. I think I've already given one, which is Agile is for software delivery. It isn't. And Agile is sprints. And we keep getting that quite a lot. It's like, oh, do you practice agility? And they're like, yes, we do sprint. It's like, oh, okay.
Stand-ups, yeah.
I think for me, it's around, there are no plans. If you do Agile, there are no plans. What do you mean there are no plans? Actually, there are plans every couple of weeks and you can raise your risks a lot sooner, a lot quicker, you understand what's going on, you communicate, how can there not be a plan? So for me, we're kind of agile because we're no plans.
Yeah. Have I got to answer? Have I?
Go on, I think so.
That project managers don't exist. I think I've changed my mind on that as I've matured. I think I don't really care what delivery people are called. I think there's still a skill set for people who are more project focused, who are a bit more neurotic like me. You know, you can't just all be singing Kumbaya on the daily scrum every day. You do need someone that can put a firework at people's backside sometimes. And we can't just burn project managers.
Do you sing Kumbaya? Is that a thing?
That's a retro I've made up.
Oh,
There's a course coming out on that. Probably got time for like 2 more, if there are any.
Hi, question
hello.
to all the panel. So AI tools are now well and truly beginning to embed in our process. How are you finding them as Agilists? And how do you think Agilists in the future can differentiate themselves from AI tools?
So I'll answer the second question first because I'm not entirely sure of an answer to the first question. So we've been speaking a lot about this over the last couple of weeks at work, and given our skill set is around bringing people together, I don't think there's any element of AI that's going to be able to replace that. I think you can have conversations today with ChatGPT, although when I speak to it, it speaks back in Welsh, which is really odd. True story. So I think the skill sets that we have is around bringing people together to collaborate, and as far as I can see, that face-to-face human interaction isn't replaceable.
We get this a lot, and part of my role is also bringing in AI tools as part of what do the engineers need for the future. When it comes to these interactions, fundamentally, everybody here knows that people, process tools, AI is a tool. It's the third thing in that list. But when I'm describing this story of visualization and the obeyas, like I described, one of the things we used to do was every time a piece of work gets stuck, we put a little famous pink sticky. So people now recognize the pink sticky as something is blocked. This is where we swarm to come and provide some help. And as soon as a blocker is resolved, we don't get rid of that pink sticky. We then take that into a cluster and try and understand what are the weak signals that become systemic issues that perhaps the organization can try and address to help delivery move faster. One of the things that consistently was asked off of us was, oh, you're doing that quite manually. There is AI tools that could do that clustering for you and this and that. But one of our response to that every time was, we want to do that tangible, tacit motion of moving something from design to build, of moving that blocker from, blocked to resolved, of clustering it into the right cluster, because it makes sure we have an interaction. It is a deliberate motion. It is a deliberate conversation with the person who has unblocked said thing, so that the next time a similar blocker comes up, actually all 15 people in that room understand what needs to be done so that we can help unblock that thing faster. Whereas if you rocked up week after week in a Gemba or day after day in a Gemba and 30 things were closed and you never really knew how they closed, but AI somehow clustered them all and said, great, problem solved, keep moving on, you're likely to keep getting those issues recurring again and again and again. So it is about that tacit, tangible interaction with the person, with the people, so that the learning can happen. And I feel that that's not really replaceable, which is why the more manual tools are sort of the things we've preferred.
Lovely, thank you, finally.
I think that most people, they've answered it with more.
The same?
Yeah.
Okay.
Time for one more question?
No. As long as it's quick. I'm getting the 5-minute warning. Where are we? Oh, I thought you warmed me up to being a question then.
Okay, I don't know if this is in the context or not, but I hear a lot about this agile budgeting. But there's a lot of confusion within the teams, like how agile supports with budgetings. That's why we love project management. So is there any suggestion or advocacy that can be provided by the panel?
I mean, if you look into lean project and lean portfolio management, there is quite a lot about budgeting and about how to do it in a collaborative way. And I think that's the sort of main way that I've seen it talked about. I have to say, I have not seen it in action personally myself. I think it's you have to be quite an advanced organisation to get to the point where you can introduce Agile to all parts of your business. It's an ideal situation. I unfortunately haven't had the joy of being in that situation, but in theory, that's where I've seen it in theory, is lean portfolio management.
Cool. Thank you. Give them all a big round of applause, folks. Thank you. You can sit back down now. They were good guests, weren't they? So, as we come to the end of this podcast section, and to make sure it ends on a high, I'm going to tell you exactly what I need, right? This is the neurotic project manager in me. I apologise. So the plan is, I'm going to thank a few people. You're going to hold off the applause, right? Don't do anything. When I give you the thumbs up, go nuts. Whilst you put your post-lunch energy into applauding the guests and who I'm about to thank, I'm going to take a quick selfie, bugger off, and you can get on with your day. Happy with that? Right. Let's give it a go. So, Liverpool Podcast Studios, they make me look far better than I am, right? So the guys there, they've come to set up, they've done it seamlessly during lunch and just before, and they've been great. Matt, for roping me into this in the first place and thinking it was a good idea, I was not a fan, right? This, usually, no chance. But they roped me into it, and to be fair, I'm glad they did. Naomi for keeping us all in line. I mean, have you seen those snacks, like the food? We thought, she has thought about the little details and kept us in line. All the speakers for being part of an unknown event. You didn't have to say yes, you said yes. So thank you. The band, they're not here. But yeah, I think they've added a little extra to this today, a bit of energy. So thanks to them. And do you know what, folks? Finally, and most importantly, you. Look around. You've said yes to this. You've said yes to us. You've seen this mug begging you to come since February. And genuinely, we do all appreciate it. I don't think it's really going to sink in until probably next week, to be honest. So it is appreciated. We know it takes a lot to get here. And yeah, so thank you. So for all of those groups, but more importantly for yourselves, now you can clap.